Have you ever met someone who saw right through you, past your reputation, your power, your carefully constructed walls? Someone who refused to be impressed by the things that impressed everyone else? This is the story of a man who thought he could charm anyone until he met a woman who wanted nothing to do with his flowers or his world. Kang Min-ho stood in line at the small coffee shop in Koreatown, Los Angeles, trying to blend in despite the two bodyguards stationed outside and the expensive suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. At 34, he ran the most powerful Korean American organization on the West Coast, what the media politely called legitimate business interests, but everyone knew was something far more dangerous. The woman working behind the counter caught his attention immediately. She was black, perhaps in her late 20s, with natural hair pulled back in a neat bun and eyes that seemed perpetually skeptical. Her name tag read Zara. She moved with efficient grace, handling the morning rush with calm competence, while her coworker fumbled with the espresso machine. When Minho reached the counter, Zara looked up with a practiced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "What can I get you?" "Americano." Black, Minho added what he thought was a charming smile. "And your name if you're willing to share it." Zara's expression didn't change. "It's on my name tag. That'll be 450. Minho handed her $100 bill. "Keep the change. The register can't make change for 100 this early. Got anything smaller?" Slightly thrown off his game, Minho found a 10. As Zara handed him his change, their fingers brushed briefly. She pulled back quickly, no flirtation in her eyes, just professional distance. "Your drink will be ready in a minute," she said, already turning to the next customer. Minho collected his coffee and left, but found himself thinking about her throughout the day. He was used to women's attention, his power, wealth, and admittedly good looks usually guaranteed it. But Zara had looked at him like he was just another customer. Somehow that was more intriguing than any flirtation. The next morning, Minho returned to the same coffee shop, and the morning after that. By the fourth day, Zara raised an eyebrow when she saw him. "Let me guess, Americano, black. You remembered. You've ordered the same thing 4 days in a row. It's not exactly a feat of memory." She rang up his order. 450. "Zara, right?" Minho handed her exact change this time. "I'm Minho." "I know who you are," Zara said flatly. "Everyone in Koreatown knows who you are, Mr. Kang. That'll be all." Something in her tone made Minho pause. She didn't sound impressed or intimidated. She sounded tired, like he was just another complication in an already complicated life. "Have I done something to offend you?" Minho asked. "You exist," Zara replied bluntly. "That's enough. Your coffee will be ready in a minute." Minho left confused and strangely more intrigued than ever. After a week of brief professional interactions, Minho decided to make a gesture. He showed up at the coffee shop just before closing with an extravagant bouquet of roses, easily $200 worth of premium flowers. Zara was wiping down tables when he entered. She looked up, saw the flowers, and her expression hardened. "We're closed," she said. "I know. I wanted to catch you without the crowd." Minho approached and offered the bouquet. "These are for you." Zara didn't take them. "Why?" "Because I'd like to take you to dinner." "No." Minho blinked. He'd expected surprise, maybe hesitation, perhaps coy acceptance, not flat refusal. "No." Zara continued wiping tables. "I don't date customers, and I definitely don't date men like you." "Men like me." Zara straightened and faced him directly. "Men who think they can buy anything with enough money. Men who walk around with bodyguards and act like they own the neighborhood. Men whose business interests hurt real people." She gestured at the flowers. "Men who bring expensive roses and expect gratitude. These roses don't come with expectations. Everything comes with expectations, Mr. Kang. Especially flowers that cost more than I make in 2 days." Zara's eyes were hard but not cruel. "I appreciate the gesture, I guess, but I'm not interested. Please leave." Minho stood there, holding the rejected flowers, feeling something he hadn't experienced in years, genuine rejection based on principle, not fear. Most people who refused him did so out of terror. Zara refused him because she genuinely wanted nothing he offered. "Can I ask you something?" Minho said. "You're still here, so apparently yes. Why do you work in Koreatown if you hate men like me so much? Zara's expression softened slightly. I don't hate you, Mr. Kang. I just don't trust you. And I work here because the owner, Mrs. Kim, gave me a job when no one else would. She's good people. You're not. She walked to the door and held it open, a clear dismissal. Minho left with his rejected flowers, but her words echoed in his mind. You're not good people. No one had said that to his face in over a decade. Minho couldn't stop thinking about Zara, not because of attraction, though she was undeniably beautiful, but because she'd held up a mirror and he didn't like what he saw reflected. You're distracted, his second in command, Park Sung-jin, observed during a meeting. Is there a problem? No, focus on the deal. But there was a problem. Minho found himself questioning things he'd never questioned before. The protection money they collected, was it protection or extortion? The businesses they controlled, were they partners or victims? The power he wielded, was it respect or fear? One evening, Minho was walking past Zara's coffee shop when he heard shouting inside. Through the window, he saw two young men harassing Zara while Mrs. Kim cowered behind the counter. One of the men had grabbed Zara's arm. Minho was inside in seconds. Let her go. The men turned, recognized him, and immediately released Zara. Mr. Kang, we didn't know. Get out, and don't come back. They fled. Mrs. Kim rushed to lock the door behind them, hands shaking. Zara stood rubbing her arm, her expression unreadable. Are you all right? Minho asked. I'm fine, I was handling it. They grabbed you, and I was about to pepper spray them when you decided to play hero. Zara's tone was sharp. You know what those guys are going to think now, that I'm under your protection, that I'm yours. You just made my life more complicated. Minho hadn't considered that. I was trying to help. No, you were trying to feel good about yourself. There's a difference. Zara grabbed her bag. Mrs. Kim, I'm leaving early. See you tomorrow. She pushed past Minho without another word. He followed her outside. Wait, please. Zara spun around. What do you want from me, Mr. Kang? Seriously, what is this about? I'm not going to date you. I'm not going to be impressed by your money or your power. I'm just trying to live my life without complications, and you keep showing up and making everything complicated. Why do you think I'm not good people? Minho asked suddenly. Zara blinked, surprised by the question. What? You said I'm not good people. I want to know why. Because I see what you do, Zara said. My neighbor can barely afford rent, because your organization raised the protection fees. Mrs. Kim pays you 30% of her profits just to keep her shop open. The restaurant on the corner closed because they couldn't afford your terms. You take and take and take, and you call it business. I provide security. I maintain order. You maintain control. Zara interrupted. There's a difference. Real security doesn't require fear. Real order doesn't require extortion. She softened slightly. I'm sure you tell yourself you're doing the right thing, that you inherited this life and you're just playing the role you were given. But Mr. Kang, you always have a choice. You just keep choosing power over principle. She walked away, leaving Minho standing alone on the street, her words cutting deeper than any weapon ever had. Something broke open in Minho after that conversation. He started seeing his organization differently, not as a necessary structure, maintaining order, but as a system of exploitation he'd been too comfortable to question. He called a meeting with his inner circle. We're changing how we operate. Sung-jin frowned. What do you mean? The protection fees. We're cutting them in half and making them voluntary. Any business that wants our security can pay. Those that don't, we leave alone. That's suicide. Another lieutenant said. We'll lose half our income. Then we find legitimate income. I'm tired of being what everyone thinks I am. What brought this on? Sung-jin asked carefully. Minho didn't answer, but he started making changes, aggressive, systematic changes that shocked his organization. He investigated which businesses genuinely needed protection and which were just paying tribute. He stopped collections from small shops that were barely surviving. He even personally returned 3 months of fees to Mrs. Kim's coffee shop. Mrs. Kim was speechless when he showed up with a check. Mr. Kang, I don't understand. Consider it an apology for years of taking what I had no right to take. Word spread quickly. Some praised the changes. Others, rivals and old guard members of his own organization, saw it as weakness. Zara heard about it through the neighborhood gossip. When Minho came to the coffee shop a week later, she studied him carefully as she made his Americano. I heard what you did, she said quietly. For Mrs. Kim and the others. I'm trying to be better. Why? Minho met her eyes. Because someone I respect told me I wasn't good people. And she was right. Zara handed him his coffee. This one's on the house. You don't have to. I know, but maybe you are capable of change. That deserves acknowledgement. She paused. It doesn't mean I trust you yet, Mr. Kang. Trust takes time, but it's a start. That small gesture, a free coffee and the possibility of eventual trust, meant more to Minho than any show of power ever. The changes Minho implemented had consequences. A rival organization saw opportunity in his weakness and made a move. They started pushing into his territory, offering businesses better protection and undermining his authority. Sungjin wanted to respond with force. If we don't push back hard, we'll lose everything. Minho was in a dilemma. The old him would have crushed the competition brutally, made examples that ensured no one else challenged him. But that was the man Zara had called not good people. The crisis came when the rival gang threatened Mrs. Kim's coffee shop. They came during business hours, smashing the front window and telling her she had 24 hours to switch her loyalty or face consequences. Zara called Minho directly. He'd left his number after the incident weeks ago. They're threatening Mrs. Kim. She's terrified. Minho arrived within 10 minutes. The shop was closed. Glass everywhere. Mrs. Kim crying, while Zara comforted her. When Mrs. Kim saw Minho, she looked both hopeful and frightened. Can you help? She asked. Without anyone getting hurt. Minho looked at Zara, who was watching him carefully. This was his test. Would he solve this problem like the old Minho, with violence and intimidation? Or could he find another way? I'll handle it, Minho said. No one will bother you again, I promise. He left and spent the next 48 hours in intense negotiations with the rival organization's leader. It cost him. He had to give up some territory, make concessions, swallow his pride. But he brokered a deal that protected the businesses in his core neighborhoods without bloodshed. When he returned to the coffee shop 3 days later, Mrs. Kim hugged him with tears in her eyes. Thank you. Everyone is saying you chose peace over war. I chose people over pride, Minho corrected. He looked at Zara. That's what someone taught me. A month later, Minho came to the coffee shop just before closing. He carried flowers again, but this time it was a small, modest bouquet of wildflowers that probably cost $20. Zara saw them and almost smiled. Mr. Kang, we've been through this. These aren't for you, Minho interrupted. They're for Mrs. Kim. It's her birthday. She mentioned it last week, and I wanted to acknowledge it. Mrs. Kim gasped with delight when he presented them. Mr. Kang, you remembered. After Mrs. Kim went to the back to find a vase, Zara approached Minho. That was thoughtful. I'm trying to pay attention to people instead of just problems. I've noticed. The whole neighborhood has noticed. Zara leaned against the counter. You've really changed things. People are talking about you differently, with less fear, more respect. Does that mean you'll have dinner with me? Minho asked. Zara was quiet for a moment. What do you want from me, Mr. Kang? Really, I want to know the woman who looked at me and saw who I really was instead of who I pretended to be. I want to spend time with someone who challenges me to be better. Minho paused. I want to be good people, and I think being around you makes me want to be the person you might actually respect. That's a lot of pressure to put on a date, Zara said, but her tone was softer than before. Not a date then, coffee, as friends, no expectations. Zara studied him for a long moment. Then she made a decision. Okay, coffee, tomorrow afternoon, my day off, but not somewhere fancy, somewhere normal, and you leave the bodyguards at home. Done. That coffee turned into a walk. The walk turned into dinner, at a modest Korean BBQ place, where Minho had to stand in line like everyone else. Dinner turned into weekly meetings, that gradually became something more. 6 months later, they were officially together. Zara still called him out when he slipped into old patterns of thinking. Minho still struggled with being vulnerable, but they were building something real. A relationship based on honesty, challenge, and genuine respect. One evening, walking through Koreatown together, Zara squeezed Minho's hand. You know what made me fall for you? When I brought the wildflowers for Mrs. Kim. No, it was when you brought me those expensive roses, and I rejected them, and you actually listened. You didn't get angry or entitled. You heard what I said, and you changed. That's when I thought maybe, just maybe, you were worth the risk. Minho stopped walking and pulled her close. I was a man who thought he could buy anything, including people's good opinion. You taught me that respect is earned, not purchased. That being good people matters more than being powerful. I fell for you the moment you refused those flowers, because you were the first person in years to see me clearly and still believe I could be better. Are you good people now? Zara asked with a slight smile. I'm trying to be, every day. Is that enough? For now, Zara said. Ask me again in a year. Year later, when Minho proposed, with a modest ring and no grand gestures, Zara said yes, not because he was powerful or wealthy, but because he'd proven that change was possible, that a man who started as not good people could become someone worth building a life with. And when they told the story of how they met, they always laughed about the rejected roses, because sometimes the best love stories start with someone brave enough to say no, and someone humble enough to listen. Have you ever been challenged by someone who saw right through you, someone who refused to accept who you were, and demanded you become better? That kind of love, the kind that challenges us to grow, is the hardest and most valuable. It's easy to love someone who accepts all our flaws. It's transformative to love someone who believes we can be better and holds us accountable to that potential. What's your story of being challenged to change? Share it below, because we all need that person who refuses to let us settle for less than we can be.